What's up YouTube? This is your boy AfroJoeTCG, and today I want to show you guys the brand new ban list that was just released today about 4 hours ago as of the time I'm recording this video, which is around, I'm recording around like 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so the ban list came out around 1. Anyway, so like I said in my previous video, I predicted the ban list was going to come out either the 20th or the 21st of March, and it's the 21st and the ban list came out today, so I'm happy to be correct on that. But basically, since I wasn't in time to actually do a live reaction to Banlist because I saw it in class, and unfortunately, of course, I can't record a video in class, so I decided to actually just wait until I got home, record a video of me just reading off the ban list, and then giving you guys my thoughts on each of the cards being hit or released, why they were hit, why they were released, how I feel, and then cards I'm surprised that did not get hit that I thought should or would have gotten hit. So without further ado, let's get started. So on to the ban list or the ban section. We have Magic Spectre Kyurem being the first change, and this is a card that a lot of people were waiting to see get hit. I was personally indifferent about it just because Magic Spectre Kyurem, while it was a really good card, it really didn't do much recently, at least, because you've been seeing pretty much Pure Zoo and Zodiac and like Pure Zoo, and then you saw Kaiju Zoo, and then you might have seen like a few Invoke decks here and there and Infernoids, but in all those builds you didn't see Kyurem, and that's because you only going to see Kyurem in either a Magic Spectre deck or a Metaphos variant like Metaphos Zoo or just pure Metaphos, which you really don't see either of those two doing well in a competitive circuit recently. And because of that, I didn't really see Kyurem getting hit, but I guess it was around long enough that Konami thought it was time for Kyurem to get hit. So Kyurem going to 1, I'm not exactly surprised about, but I sort of don't 100% agree with it, but it is what it is. Tyrant Neptune, I definitely agree with. This card had to go. For those guys who don't know, the Tyrant Neptune is part of a 2, well, technically 3 card combo because you need 1 to discard. But the combo ends with 4 monsters on board, one of which being a Trident, another one being a Tyrant Neptune with 8300 attack, unaffected by all card effects, literally all card effects, that's in its text. And then on top of that, well, the card copies text, and on top of that, it gains 5, and then it has 5,000 burn damage for every turn. So your opponent will automatically die in 2 turns unless they have a Kaiju or a card of that nature that tributes the Tyrant Neptune. Because without it, Tyrant Neptune's unaffected by everything, so you can't even negate the attempt to activate it. You can't even negate the effect to burn you. You can't destroy it with like Dark Claw. You can't shuffle it. You can't negate its effect with anything, even a counter trap. It's stupid. So this card just had to go for shenanigans. And then finally, you have Vanity's Emptiness, which is a card that a lot of people agreed needed to go. I do too. Vanity's Emptiness was keeping a lot of the meta in check at the time, and I'm not going to say that the card didn't do its job well, but the issue is Vanity's Emptiness did its job too well, in a sense where if you did not have a way to get rid of Vanity's Emptiness in hand, and especially if your opponent already had an established board plus a Vanity's Emptiness, really you had to rely on your opponent getting rid of their own vanities, which was not that often unless they were going for game that turn. So this is why I'm sort of glad Vanity's Emptiness had to go. Just to me, any card that just stops the duel from being able to be played or your opponent from able to play in general, that's so splashable into any deck, I think needs to go in general. So I'm glad Vanity's Emptiness was gone. And then we're going on to the limited list, so every card has been put to 1. The first of which is Max C. I really don't know how to feel about Max C, because Max C was keeping some decks in check, and yes, I agree Max C in this format gives you too much draw power, but at the same time, it also kept decks in check, and Max C is only as powerful as the format it's in. So while I may not agree with it being put to 1, what I will say is that Max C has a potential to come back to 2 in the future, if just because of the fact that the format might become slower, and in a slower format where there's less special summoning consistently, Max C is not as powerful, so you won't gain as many draws. So that's my thoughts on Max C. And then you see all the cards that are forbidden. One thing I want to mention, every card that was forbidden and came back into the ban list, or as either limited or unlimited in one card's case, they all have been errated, and the errated forms will be released on the 31st, which is the first day this ban list is legal. So the first card was Rescue Cat, and I believe Rescue Cat's errata was the cards are destroyed during the end phase and their effects are negated. Brad's errata is, I believe, that it's no longer generic. It has to have like a water or sea serpent type tuner or non-tuner in order to make it. Brain Control no longer targets any card. It now can only take control of monsters that are normal summoned or set. Future Fusion is just still going to be a very interesting card in my opinion. But Future Fusion errata is that it no longer dumps the turn that you activate it. It dumps. You have to wait You have to wait till your next turn before you actually dump the monsters. So turn 1 you activate. On your second turn, you dump, and on your third turn you get the whatever fusion monster you try to fusion summon. And then you get Imperial Order, which I'm actually not 100% sure of the errata. I do believe the errata for Imperial Order was instead of you having to pay 700 life points optionally, you now mandatory have to pay 700 life points during each player's standby phase, and if you can't do so, the card is destroyed. So I'm interested to see how much of an impact Imperial Order will make to the game. One thing I really want people to note is that Imperial Order, I do not believe negate Pendulum Scales activation. So your opponent can still activate the Scales and Pendulum Summon, so it won't stop that, but it will stop them from being able to activate their Pendulum's effects. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then on to the semi-limited list, so all the cards put to 2. We have Wisdom Eye Magician, Zodiac Rapier, and Kaiju Slumber. Rapier, I honestly did not like Zodiac, so like I said, I wanted this card at 1, but I'm fine with that too as well, because that can still play, which is fair. And while you can't do the one card combo where you can get either the full Lunar Light combo or the full Dilusa Emerald Drancia combo, you can still technically do those plays, but you have to waste the extra card. Like for example, you might have to use a Summoner Monk to bring out the Rapier and then do the traditional Zodiac combo from there. But instead of summoning instead of going for the third Rapier, you stop at the second and then go for the Dilusa Emerald. So that would still allow you to do the full combo, but it's just a little bit different, and you have to waste more resources to make it. And then Intro to Kaiju Slumber, I was actually iffy on whether this card should be put at 2 or 1. The reason being is because this card is basically a dark hole. It simply does 2 extra things. The first thing it does is that it brings out a Kaiju monster both you and your opponent's board from your deck, but you get to pick, so you probably will always give yourself the stronger one. The second thing it does different is that it also can banish itself to search out another Kaiju from your deck to your hand, which I have an issue with. So I felt like at 2 was bare minimum because it does have a dark hole effect, but I also thought it might be at 1 just because of the additional abilities this card has over the dark hole. And summoning the Kaijus is not mandatory, I don't think. I think that's an option, so I don't know. I think it should be put at 1, but at least it's at 2, which is the bare minimum I would be acceptable with this card being at. And then the final card is Sangan being put to 3, because again, Sangan got errata, so that's my thoughts on Sangan. And so that's pretty much all the cards that were hit and released down the list. A few cards I'm actually surprised that were not affected were Dimensional Barrier, Solemn Strike, and Norden specifically. Because I felt Norden might have just gotten hit just due to the fact that this card, even in the OCG, they understood that Norden was a really good card and banned him. Because of all the utility, he can do the rank 4s and pretty much anything that, actually any monster level 4 below at that point. So Norden was just really splashable, and because you can keep, and his effect activates when he's summoned, not just when he's fusion summoned. So when he's special summoned by like Call the Haunted on Oasis, he will still get his effect. So I'm actually shocked they kept him in, but I'm not really too hurt about Norden being here either. It still also made Zoo playable, so I guess that's like a balancing factor for it. But Dimensional Barrier, I personally wanted to see go to 1, just because of the fact that Vandy's Emptiness was at 1 for doing a very similar act. And in my opinion, D Barrier was actually in some ways worse, because at least Vandy's Emptiness stopped you and your opponent. And Vandy's Emptiness could be outed by you or your opponent. So again, and also if your opponent activated Vandy's Emptiness, you can chain your, for example, your Twin Twister or your Cosmic Cyclone and destroy the D Barrier, and its effect will no longer apply. You can't do that for Dimensional Barrier. Dimensional Barrier is a chainable card, which means if you target with a Twin Twister, they're going to get the effect off of D Barrier and just negate your stuff. And yes, while it's only for a turn, it prevents your opponent from playing an entire turn. And it's not just stopping the summons, it negates the face-up effects as well, which is very, very bad for me. Because, like, if I'm playing into a deck like Zoo, for example, and I don't play Zodiacs, and I don't like the deck, but I don't think it's fair where if I say I call Xyz, my opponent can't activate any Xyz effects or attempt to NC summon for an entire turn. For Zoo, that's pretty much saying they can't play for a whole turn. And to me, any card that's generic like that, chainable, and prevents your opponent from playing for a full turn shouldn't be in the game. Because to me, this card is like Cold Wave, but for monster summoning. That's my view on the card. So, that's why I'm shocked. And then Solemn Strike, I thought was going to honestly be hit to 2. Not that I'm against to be at 3, just because it is keeping certain things in check. But the Solemn cards usually are considered to be so powerful that they usually get hit to either 1 or 2 respectively. I thought it was going to be like the Solemn Warning. I thought it was going to be like the new Warning Judgment combination, where back in the day, Judgment was at 1, Warning was at 2. And now I thought it was going to be where Warning was at 1 and Solemn Strike was at 2. So it made you run other cards to deal with summonings and stuff like that. But I guess not, so it is what it is. But overall, I'm very excited. I actually like the ban list overall. I'm pretty excited to see how the format is going to shape. I personally don't think Zeus is going to be out the running yet. I think the deck, just because Rat is at 2 doesn't mean that it's dead. They're just going to need to have to adjust, and they won't be as consistently able to do the full combo because, like I said, they're going to need a Summoner Month in order to do some of those plays. But once again, thank you guys for watching. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Comment in the comment section down below what you guys think about my thoughts on the ban list. If you guys agree, disagree. Also, comment what you guys think about the ban list yourself. Do you guys agree with it? Do you guys think that certain things should have been changed, certain things should have been hit, or just stuff like Stratos? Should Stratos be free after all these years? I mean, come on, even the OCG free Stratos. I mean, it's about time. But to be 100% serious, thank you guys for watching. Once again, it's the AfroJoeTCG. Like I said earlier, remember to share. Show your love for your boy, give him a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.